How's it going, YouTube? Primal Kiratina back here with two more Wi-Fi battles, or I'm sorry, I say Wi-Fi battles, they're Showdown Battles, although I do use Wi-Fi to do them, so they could be called Wi-Fi battles. Anyway, I just have two because they're kind of short, and these are UU matches. I'm testing out this new UU team. It's not perfect yet, so excuse me. And I'm mainly an OU player. It doesn't have to be standard OU, but I do know more about UU, so if I do something really stupid, don't just like rage at me. Anyway, I am on the far side in this battle. I'm playing as Bippy against this guy Yusei Faro. I have an Life Orb Azelf, a specially defensive Amoonguss with Substitute, a Life Orb Houndoom, obviously defensive Gligar, just a bulky Milotic, not anything fancy like Assault Vest, and standard as hell obnoxious Sableye. My opponent has what looks like a very threatening team. Don't know too much about UU, but Nidoking, Porygon Z, Chandelure, all ridiculously strong. And Ditto's obviously going to be obnoxious. We actually have a little bit of a debate in the comments about his Ditto set. If you guys look in the comments, you can see that. But anyway, I'm very afraid, especially of that Porygon Z. And let's start this battle. So he leads off with said Ditto, and I lead off with Feebacarp, thinking he would do that, and then I could handle the Ditto. I go for the Scald, he Dragon Tails me, and I'm going to go into Gligar. And I'm like, okay, now he's stuck into Dragon Tail, so I'm going to set up Stealth Rocks, and he's got Ice Beam, so this is not a Scarf Ditto, and it crits me and I die. I probably could have taken one without the crit. That really sucks. So I'm going to go into Moongus knowing Ice Beam not going to do too much, and I'm going to set up a sub. It actually does more than I thought. I honestly thought he would switch instead of staying in going for the Ice Beam because I could obviously kill him. But he's going to go for another Ice Beam as I Giga Drain. Kind of the idea is I go into Moongus, I force something out, and then I sub so that I know whether I want to Spore them or not. But he is going to be a Citrus Berry Ditto, sort of like an anti-lead. I think Scarf would make more sense, like this other anti-leads that can do the same thing. But that's just my opinion. So after a little bit of stall here, just spamming Ice Beam versus Giga Drain, and then I go for a Sludge Bomb just in case he swapped or something. I don't know why he would though. He doesn't have a Spinner or Defogger unless it's a defensive Defogging Flygon. But he goes into Chandelure, and I think that's a bit of a mistake because he was supposed to get all the initiative from getting that switch initiative. And then he went into something that I have a perfect switch for, which is Houndoom. Flash Fire Houndoom, Chandelure can't really touch it. But now he goes into Flygon with more initiative, a bit more threatening. I'm going to go into Feebacarp, the Magikarp. I see Earthquake's only going to do 24%, so yeah, Milotic too bulky for you. And he's going to swap out, goes into the Aerodactyl, as I knew he was going to swap out, so I'm going to go for the Dragon Tail, because he obviously wasn't staying in, he knew I had Ice Beam. He goes into the Nidoking, I'm like, I can probably take hits from this, because I'm especially defensive, I believe, but this is a physical Nidoking. Goes for the Poison Jab as I go for the Scald. People used to not run physical Nidoking because it didn't get much of a decent moveset, but now that Fairy types are here and you can hit him with Poison Jab, really not that bad. So I'm just going to have to sack off Houndoom. Really wasn't going to do too much for me against the rest of his team, so that I can get a switch into a Moongus, and he gets a crit Fire Punch. So two important crits so far in the battle, but that's just how it works. I'm not salty about this at all. But I go into Azelf knowing now that he's not Scarfed, so I can just take him out with a Psychic and not be afraid of getting wrecked. I don't like the nickname Crystal, I swapped it, but I really couldn't think of what to nickname it. Anyway, he goes into the Aerodactyl. I'm going to Liver Crunch and take him out with a Psychic, so that was kind of lucky. But then I died a Life Orb, so it's a 2v2. Flygon, Porygon Z versus Feebacarp and Sableye. He goes into Porygon Z, I led with Sableye, Meltdown, and I'm just going to burn him to get residual damage. The battle before this, I ran into a Scarf Porygon Z, and I was still thinking that earlier in the battle it was the same one, and I knew he was Scarfed. But then he goes for the Nasty Plot, I'm like, well, shit, I messed up. He's got the Life Orb and Burn, though, so I am taking him down. Foul Play just quite a bit. I'm like, here, uh-oh, Burn won't kill him. Totally forgetting he has a Life Orb, so that's another misplay here. So I'm going to have to go into Feebacarp, take an Ice Beam, and I get frozen. But he does die. There wasn't really any point to switching in Feebacarp. I should have just sacked Sableye. He dies, and then Flygon just dies to an Ice Beam, can't take me out. That would have been smart, but that's not what I did. Anyway, Marvel Scale allows me to take the hit, because that ups my defense whenever I have a status condition, but he's still going to take me out. This Flygon, probably Scarf Flygon. All it does is U-turn. I don't really think it's that great. Like, all you do is spam U-turn. But anyway, I'm going to speed this up. Essentially, he's only doing 45% to me, so I am going to be able to successfully go for the recover and then finally get a burn on him when it is safe. No crits, so several important hack deaths here, but none just when it counted. And eventually, this is going to be a good game to Yusei Furo. I'm just going to stop it here because you can obviously see I'm winning, so there's not really any point. And let's go on to the second battle. Same team against this guy Spencer. That last battle I had yesterday. This battle I had like today, recently. This guy does have an all shiny team. Like, I was like, well, this is not going to be hard. All shiny, definitely the easiest way to kind of convey noob, but it also could be a good mind play. And anyway, this guy played just, I think he played fine anyway. So I'm running my same team, and he's got a Mew and Jirachi, and like, well, that could be really obnoxious. And then Vaporeon, Mega Ampharos, and Hippowdon. It's like all the potential bulky Pokemon that I don't want to face, plus a Honchkrow, which is definitely a good physical attacker and kind of does fairly well against my team. So I'm kind of afraid of this battle. You can see he's got a decent team matchup, and Azelf, who I'd normally want to sweep, main sweeper, kind of gets stopped short by a Sucker Punch from Honchkrow, or potentially a Pursuit, so all those mind games could come into play, and I don't really want any of that, but this guy does have a decent matchup against my team, so let's start this battle. I lead with Houndoom, expecting a Mew lead, because that's what I just figured he'd lead with, and I'm just going to Pursuit straight off the bat. Houndoom has Pursuit and Sucker Punch and Crunch, all the Dark-type moves, but now he goes into Vaporeon, definitely going to be the most annoying thing for me to take down. As you can see, I don't have much for bulky waters, since nothing on my team carries Toxic. Anyway, he gets a first burn Scald, which kind of sucks, but it actually kind of works out for me later in the battle. He goes into Jirachi. I just straight up Spore, knowing that I can put anything to sleep that I want to put to sleep, so it doesn't really matter. There's like no reason not to go for the Spore. Now he's going to swap out, go into Honchkrow, all the pink stuff, as I went out going into Houndoom, because that was the best matchup. He goes for a superpower, so this is going to be Scarf Honchkrow, and Houndoom dies. That kind of sucks, but it could have been worse. Like, if I had to lose somebody, it probably would have been Houndoom. And at least now I know he's Scarf, so I'm going to go into Gligar. He goes into Vaporeon, as I'm just going to set up rocks. Definitely going to be useful during the battle. And again, I'm just going to have to go straight out of here. This Vaporeon, definitely going to be a problem for my team. Goes for the Ice Beam, but specially defensive Amoonguss, definitely eating up the hits. Almost does so little that I could keep a sub. Almost, but not quite. So I'm going to go for the Giga Drain, and that does even less than his Ice Beam. Despite the stab, this Vaporeon, really bulky. I wanted to try out sub Amoonguss, but I'm honestly not sure I'm going to keep him on the team. Anyway, now I'm going to go into Milotic, just to bulk his... just out-bulk the Vaporeon, just over-bulk his bulky water. He does have Toxic, I figured that would happen, but since I can always swap in between Milotic and then Regenerator Amoonguss, and then Milotic has Recover, not really worried about the Toxic. I should probably put Toxic on Milotic, though, instead of Ice Beam. So Honchkrow goes for the Brave Bird. With my Marvel Scale boost, that's not going to do anything, and Ice Beam's just going to take him out. So Marvel Scale, just such a useful ability. I admit running competitive Milotic is also pretty fun. Anyway, in comes the Mew. I don't want it recovering, so I go for the Scald. It turns out he's faster, which he obviously was. I'm not sure why I wouldn't think he is. I'm going to crit the Scald. Not sure that really mattered in the long run, but with Toxic damage and everything, Feebrecarp's at 11%, and I really need him for Vaporeon. And now it's a free switch into this guy's Ampharos. Mega Ampharos. I love Mega Ampharos. So awesome. He's going to go for the Agility, not Mega Evolve first turn. Not really sure why. I'm going to go for Will-O-Wisp to get residual damage, and knowing this taunt is super obvious, and he T-bolts, and that does 69% to a especially defensive Sableye without any boost. Like, oh my god. And then goes for a Dragon Pulse and crits me and kills me. All the crits in these battles, like, oh my god, because that did matter, but again, I'm not too salty about that. Anyway, I'm going to go into Amoonguss, take 38% from that, so Amoonguss takes that hit really well, but after the burn, I really don't want to have to take another one, because if I do, I'll die. So I won't take another one. So I'm going to have to swap out, go into Gligar. I didn't go into him in the first place because I thought he might have HP Ice, but it didn't really matter because Dragon Pulse still does too much. And at this point, I'm going to go into Amoonguss. He's the only one who can take another one, so I successfully outbulked the Ampharos and just waited for it to die with the burn, but my entire team is decimated. Everyone's at low health except for Azelf, and that really stinks. So he goes into Vaporeon. I've got to switch out, just get some more Regenerator boost. I'm going to go into Azelf. I did switch the name to Will Be Powerful. It's a joke. It's the Willpower Pokemon. I couldn't really think of anything. If anyone has an Azelf nickname, please suggest it. But I'm going to go for the Psychic, take some more Life Orb damage, and he's just going to keep hitting me. Fortunately, doesn't get the burn, so I do get another attack off. and I'm going to go for another Psychic, and he ends up never going for the Wish or anything. I guess he didn't have Wish or Protect. I mean, Scald, Ice Beam, Toxic, and then not Wish. That's kind of weird. But anyway, at the percent, I can go into Amoonguss, because at that percent, I know I can kill him off with a Giga Drain, and now it's going to be a 3v2, but both his team members have like full health, and my team is kind of really low, especially, and now Jirachi gets a free switch in, so the sleep shouldn't be too devastating for him. So I'm going to swap out. I can't really touch him. I just have Giga Drain Sludge Bomb. I'm going to go into Feebrecarp, hoping that he stays asleep, and I can just get a recover off. That's going to be nice. And I am going to start, just switch this to fast mode now, because this is going to take a little longer, but it's still going to be an interesting end to a battle, so don't think like, oh my god, stall, I'm leaving. So now I'm going to go into Gligar, and he's going to wake up and go for a Zen Headbutt. So this is definitely going to be a flinch Rachi. Goes for a Body Slam now, gets the para, but I am going to get a Roost off, fortunately. And he's going to go for an Iron Head. I'm going to flinch. I'm sorry, I'm going to paralyze. It doesn't really matter. I've only a 40% chance of doing something. He's going to go for another Iron Head, and that 40% chance obviously should activate there. So I am going to get one Earthquake off, just get damage on the Jirachi, which can be important. And now I'm going to go into Milotic, and basically he has Drain Punch, which is kind of weird. But it works for me that he's going for Drain Punch, because with the Marble Scale, I'm taking his hits very well. So Drain Punch, Iron Head, Body Slam, Zen Headbutt. With leftovers, I would even consider running Assault Vest on this set, just like this Flinch Rachi. And I'm just going to start Scalding. I just really need a burn here. That's all I need, because then I'll slowly be dying, except for the Drain Punch, which really isn't getting him much health. So despite all this toxic damage, I'm not going to switch out. Go for some more Scalds, and I'm finally going to get that burn. That's really important, because now I know I can bring in Amoonguss and at least be able to take one Zen Headbutt. So I've got to switch out here. I go into an Amoonguss. Zen Headbutt's still going to do 39%, even though he's burned. Like, he's going to die in 2 more turns unless he gets the Drain Punch healing. I go into Milotic, and I'm just going to take that Zen Headbutt and still be able to survive. It's like, awesome. And he goes for the Drain Punch, which gives him just enough extra health. Just enough to live one more hit, but I go into Amoonguss. I know I can take his Zen Headbutt, and he crits. And that pretty much decided the battle, because I know all I had to do was Giga Drain, got a ton of health back, and that crit definitely mattered. That's like the final crit that really just broke the battle. So these were the haxiest UU matches. I'm not salty. I thought they were great matches, though. So if you guys like this, please leave a like, comment, subscription, or any other support you'd like to show. Happy battles, guys.